Hi guys, we are back with another segment of our t-shirt quilt. I want to give a shout out to Jennifer in Utah. We thank you so much. We were overjoyed at your comment that you made, and that we're excited that you are following along making the t-shirt quilt with us. So I'm going to let Patricia tell you all about the next part of her adventure with this t-shirt quilt.
Okay, so this was the part that's new to me. That's why we're calling it an adventure, because this is the part I haven't done before. I have done a number of t-shirt quilts where they were all nicely the same size and you could just put them together. There's a little segment, so here's the beginning of my layout, and this is not set in stone. I'm just gonna play with it, and I'm gonna show you some of my ideas as I play with it. But I'm gonna demonstrate, right here is an illustration. Each of these is 12 and a half, 12 and a half, 12 and a half. If you can find a measurement that works for you, you could do strips, you could do your whole blocks, if it was 12 and a half by 12 and a half. Now see, these are not the same length, they're just the same width. But you can see I'm just gonna be able to put those together, and that's gonna be the start of a strip here. But now when I get down to here, all of a sudden I've got kind of a mess, so we'll talk about that a little later. But that's one style of quilt. You could just put them all together in strips if you were lucky enough to have t-shirts that could all be cut to the same size. We're going to talk about a couple little problem-solving places. Do you remember our Pikachu t-shirt where it was cut in a raglan sleeve and I had to add corners to make that into some kind of a square? It was in our handprint t-shirt. And here's the other one. I've already added my corners to those, but I've got one last one up here, and I'm going to use this one to demonstrate for you. Before I start that though, I'm going to talk a little bit more. So when I talked to my daughter, she sent me this one pile of, this pile of t-shirts that she had, and I looked at it and I thought, okay, what color scheme do you want me to kind of emphasize? How do I want to build on this? Because most of what she sent me was kind of neutrals and grays, and I know it doesn't look like this because I've already started adding some brights. She said, oh, and I knew this about her, that she's a bright person. She likes brights. So I'm trying to maximize, like this goes with that little blue t-shirt up there. And this was a t-shirt that I found from grade school. It's got some pink stripes. I'm trying to maximize some of the brights that I know of to kind of pull some color and, keep it a little brighter than what the original group of t-shirts that she sent me. This little one was again from grade school. I've got that little flower there. I know she's going to be tickled to find that stuck in her quilt. And this was another grade school t-shirt with a little tie-dye. So I'm going to use these sleeve pieces. You can see I just put the interfacing on the top of it, because all I need is enough to fill in these little corners. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to look. But let's go to the sewing machine in a minute here, and I'm going to show you how I fill in a corner with some of our scrap fabric. Okay, so here's our little piece of t-shirt quilt that came from a raglan sleeve, and that's just where it was cut. You can see I got lots of room to play with there because the words are way in here. So I'm going to take this cute fabric from a t-shirt and try to come up with a way to put a corner on this. Now I could get really specific about how I want my colors to go. I might choose to do them symmetrical, or I might choose to do them asymmetrical. I'm kind of all about change and variety, but I could, if I wanted to maximize my use, I could just try to make the block use as much of this white as I could. And by cutting a piece there, and then you see, you're gonna, after you sew it on, you're gonna come back and trim it up. You're gonna put your block on there, line your cut edges up on the straight of the corner, and then we're gonna trim that off. And that would be a perfectly acceptable way to fill it in. It's more what I did on the other two. I just put a solid color in. But I'm gonna try to get some interesting pattern going here. Let's just lay this down arbitrarily. Let's see, so that's about, if I put that on like that, that's about what that would look like. What do you think? What do I think? I don't know.
I like it.
It's kind of cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm gonna kind of finger press that. Oh, don't have any pins with me. I can see my little seam there. I can see my little crease there. Pencil might not hurt either. Okay, we found a pen, and I can still just barely see my line, but I'm gonna double check it. Yep. I'm gonna mark it, and now we're not too worried about pen showing through because we got lots of layers there. Double check, if I sew on that line, I'm gonna have plenty to trim off. Let's try it here. As you can see, if you fold it this way, you can see I went plenty in from what I actually had available to me on this particular. And sew along that line. Again, I'm not too worried about what color is red because I'm going through multiple colors of fabric. Away this excess to our 1/4 inch seam. Flip that out. You could get it, you could, iron that if you wanted, but I'm just going to show you what I'm doing here. These were my original dimensions that I knew that I wanted. In this case, I think it's 12.5 by 6.5, and so I'm going to line up my edge is there with the edge of the ruler, and trim that off. And there's my corner. See what I did? Okay, so do that on the other side, and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I sewed that on, and I decided that for me, and every quilter can make their own decisions. You could try to make this real symmetrical and real similar, and I deliberately went ahead and made this side bigger just because, I don't know, just because. This quilt's a little wonky, so we'll go with that theme of wonkiness. And kind of maximize the color that'll be on here. Line that right up. Okay, so here it's in an actual rectangle now. Okay, so see how that's gonna fit up there. We're gonna find a way to make these. Yeah, but you can see there's a few places where I have gaps, and I'm going to tackle each of them. Each of them is going to be a problem to solve. Each of them is going to be a design issue. Again, I want to maximize kind of distributing my brighter colors. And I've got my pile of scraps. I think I want this light blue down here. I'm undecided about this. This was a little piece that she just gave me, a little piece, but I know she wants it in there. So we're gonna have to figure that out, maybe with a little red there. But let me just show you over here how I'm gonna go about calculating our our dimensions. So again, a lot of them I did 12 and a half. I cut 12 and a half to be sewn down to 12. So you can see here, I've got 12 and I've got my 1/4 inch seam on each side. And that one again is 12 with 1/4 inch seam on each side. This one is cut 8 and a half, which means that I intend it to be 8 finished with 1/4 inch seam on each side. 8 plus what? 4 is going to equal 12. But on this one, you've got to add that 1/4 inch seam. So you're going to cut it 4 and a half. So in order to fit this in here, this purple is where I'm going. I'm going to cut it the exact measurement of this, which is 8 and a half, and then come out 4, but cut it 4 and a half so that I have enough for my seam allowances. And then that will make a nice panel. We're going to kind of work in sections, just making these panels the best we can. But here's our little scrap, and I'm going to cut a piece 8 and a half by 4 and a half. So that we can set that in there. And change up my ruler because this one's only 6 inch wide. Okay. So I'm going to cut bigger than it needs to be, and then I'll trim it up square. You can see get rid of my raggedy edges. So there would be 1, 2, 3, 4 and a half. There would be my 8 and a half. Here we go again with the not very sharp blade. And I noticed that it cuts really smooth on the vertical and not so smooth on the horizontal. So just don't be hard on yourself, but just take it a little more mindfully on the slow. Okay, here's where we're going to match up our. Okay, so 8 and a half, 4 and a half, and that should be an exact. Let's just see. Let's just hope it is. You never know. We might end up wanting some of those pieces, so we're hanging on to them. Here's my nice, neat little piece. Okay, so we've made our little piece cut 8 and a half by 4 and a half. So when we put that together, that should just match up. And then by taking out our 1/4 inch seams, it should just fit together with the one on top and bottom. So as you can see, you're just going to have to move your way around the quilt top, doing these little problem-solving issues. Here's one that I want to talk about. Again, these two match up, but I want to put something in there. I want to put something in there, and I've got this little t-shirt, and I can decide, do I want my stripes to go horizontally? Do I want them to go vertically? It's all design decisions that you can make as you go. We're just going to start piecing this together. Oh, another thought I had, this one was this is long, but when I did this whole top corner seemed really kind of dark. And I had this extra inch here, an inch here. I'm going to fold those in, and I'm going to use that as an excuse to maybe put this purple up here and just kind of get some more motion and some more color sprinkled throughout. Okay? So your quilt is your quilt. You make your design decisions, and we'll see you back next time. Thanks. Okay, so I've had a chance to put a few of these pieces together, the ones that I felt pretty confident about. So I've got a couple of units going together here. Here's my 4x8 piece that I put together, and then I added my top and bottom. Now you can see this one's got this extra, and I'm gonna leave it there because I may choose to keep it, or I may choose to trim some of that and add more color there. We'll just see. This is the other unit that I made. I felt pretty clear, like, okay, we're gonna go with that. And by getting some of those units established, it gives you a perspective to look at things differently. Now, we already talked about the fact that I kind of want some more color up here, and I laid that purple there, and I'm still kind of going with that. but I haven't cut it yet. Here's a place where I had a little aha. After I laid this out, I've got this one. This one's got extra space that really is not very needed. So I folded that under. We're gonna play with that. But as I come on down, I notice that this is the same size as that one. So this will make a nice strip. But that one at the bottom, let me see if I can get it out over there. This Carnegie Mellon one with the handprints, it's just a little extra. It doesn't fit, and that's gonna cause, that's gonna cause more complications when it comes to sewing it in. But really, I have plenty of room there to trim it up without, maybe kind of just barely hitting those fingertips. You can still tell what's going on in terms of the words. So I think what I might do is trim that up so that this whole unit just needs this one strip in order to make it compatible. Do you see where I'm going with this? I'm trying to find ways to simplify my piecing. And I think we can give up an inch or two on that one to make the whole thing flow together. I've still got that complicated corner. I'm not gonna tackle that till I've got a little more established. And I want some more color here, and I'm just not sure. I've got my scraps, but I could grab my scraps. I've got plenty of green left. I've got more handprint material, which isn't exactly bright. I've got some yellow. Got more yellow. What else do I have? Oh, and really, I got tons of this, but I don't want to overdo that. I just want little bits of that. So I might be on the lookout for another color that I can put in for some of these places. Okay, that's just a few more thoughts about my design process and how this really isn't a quick sew it together sort of project. You have to lay it out and be willing to kind of think about it and play with the pieces. But I'll get some more pieces put together before next time we meet. Okay, thanks.